Welcome everyone. We're going to use the chair today. It's one of those props I figured absolutely everybody has. So still have a blanket because sometimes lying down, it's nice to have a blanket underneath the back of your head, just depending on um, the position of your neck. Okay. And we'll just start having your calves up on the chair. So many of you are probably familiar with this one. And of course, it's quite relaxing. There's a little bit of adjustment. If you're finding that it's maybe a little too low and there's an angle, then you can also place your pillow underneath the back of your calves, depending on how long are the dimensions of your legs to the seat of the chair. And then just place it back down. Your hands rest, your eyes closed. Let's actually all have a lovely full breath in. Top of your breath, pause. And then a lovely sigh on your exhale. Continue with your breath. You can do as many sighs as you like. And I find with each sigh, it releases another layer of tightness that has built up in us. And just laying upon back, more of an awareness of the rise and lower of your chest, maybe even through your belly. And I don't want you to force where the expansion is, just more observe. So the fullness of your breath allows the ease, of course, as your body absorbing your in-breath, but then the gentle waves as you breathe in and breathe out. And holding the lovely posture of the spine in the back of your head. The connection at the back of each of your ribs, the length of your spine, always a little bit of space between the back of your neck, and even the lumbar part of your spine. I want you to wiggle your toes. And just sort of the awareness. And then allow your feet to completely relax. And with the resting of your toes, your ankles, pours into the release of the tightness through your thighs. And actually take your hands onto your thighs and just give a little massage. Let the pressure of your palms of your fingers onto the muscles of your leg, or perhaps the sliding of your hands up and down. You're releasing the muscles with your legs, and yet at the same time the weightlessness. In the front of your thighs, towards your hamstrings, the outer edges of your hip. Just sort of your hands just walk around to find a little bit of the release. And then as you're ready, just allow your hands to rest by your side. The back of your hands off your mat, so you have a little bit of the opening. And just check that the front and the back of your neck is of equal length. All these little details, the importance, so that through our practice, holding at the alignment, to allow the posture, balance, and ease. On your next exhale, I want you to draw your right knee into your chest. And just sort of inviting the gravity of torso towards your thighs. A little bit of movement side to side. Let's actually do some lovely circles. So your leg is completely passive. Your hands is steering through the circles, and actually let's go both ways. And then from here, I want you to straighten your legs. So your hands are still behind the back of your lifted leg, but there might be a little gentle bending of your knee. So our first one. And then with your ankle, that circular movement. And turning circular, sometimes more direction front and back, movement of the ankle. And still just ensure you have the whole back of your torso staying onto your mat. And if your fingers are starting to reach forward so your shoulders roll off the mat, then just keep your knee a little bit more bent. And then bend your knee and allow your calf to just settle right back onto your mat. And then we'll change sides. This time your left knee in, interweave your fingers the funny way, and the lifting. And then actually bend your knee again. We're going to do those circular movements. I forgot. So with your knee bent, your hand on your knee, do those lovely big circular movements. So it's the top of your thigh going into your hip socket, and it's juicing of that joint, the initial movement. And again, lovely thing to do even before you get out of bed in the morning. Just putting the juice before the use of the muscles. And then as you're ready, interweave your fingers the funny way and start to lift and lengthen your leg up to the sky. So again, the gentle bending of the knee as need be. And then as your hands support the back of the legs, then take your ankle and do that little movement. And sometimes there's a little bit of a popping. That's okay, releasing the pressure of the air. And again, pointing, flexing. And then settle your calf back down onto the chair. And place your hands onto your palms. And I want you to take your hands onto your thighs. And I want you to press your thighs away. It's just a little bit more encouraging of the lengthening of your lower torso. And then I want you to draw your right knee into your chest. We're going to go into a thread the needle, just a very passive one. So bending of your right knee, place your ankle onto your left thigh, and then with your right hand onto your right thigh, move your thigh away, so not your knee. Sometimes with the knee, there's a little bit more of a tilting and losing the alignment. So keeping the back of your left calf almost glued to the chair, and then encourage the opening. But make sure just allow your left leg connect to the chair. This is just our initial warming up of the opening of the hip. And then thread the needle, which we'll be doing a few times. So again, not forcing, more just encouraging. Still make sure that your left hip doesn't lift up. So it's almost like the weight of a heavy blanket holding the whole part of your pelvic down to keep the back of your hips settled. And then we'll change sides. So unwind, placing of your right calf down. First movement is your left knee to your chest. Now with the assistance of your hand, place your ankle onto your right knee. And then your left hand moving your left knee away. Now it won't go completely away. This is our first one, but just sort of giving a little bit of space there. And you also keep your right hand onto your right thigh to give that opening. Make sure that your toes are relaxed. Your shoulders are soft. And your eyes sink deep. And the only movement is your breath. I'll get you to unwind. Place both of your calves onto the seat of the chair and just give your feet, your ankles, just a little bit of movement. Get the flowing of your blood back down to your feet. And then we're going to come out. So I want you to roll over onto your right side and stay laying onto your right side. And then just notice the space across the back of your body. So taking the weight of your body onto your back, and then see if you can breathe now into the back of your body. Giving that space between each of your ribs. And then press your left hand down to bring yourselves up. And we're going to go from here into child's pose using the chair. So a couple of different heights of it. Now your toes together. Have your forearms onto the seat of the chair. And so perhaps depending on your knees, keeping more of the L position, almost more the verticalness of your thighs, or maybe a little farther back, or maybe taking it right for your sitting bones towards your heels. Again, the lovely blanket, you can always tuck it underneath the back of your knees just to give a little bit more support. And in this child's pose, it gives the ease of the lengthening of your spine. So almost descending back of your neck, traveling down the back of your ribs, right off the end of your tailbone. And have a few lovely sighs. And just ensure that your shoulder blades are sliding apart, opposed to gripping in. Make sure your eyes stay soft. And then we'll get you to bring yourselves up. So still staying kneeling, your hands onto the seat of the chair. I want you to just a little bit of movement through your shoulders. And then we're going to do a kneeling cat and cow. So keeping the surface of your shins, the palms of your hands, with your in-breath, I want you to move your chest forward and up, almost like you're looking to the sky. And then on the exhale, scooping of your tailbone under and your head just drop. So the movement of your breath, the lifting of your body, but using your hands onto the seat of the chair for that support. And on the end of your next exhale, bring yourselves back to neutral. From here, tuck your toes under, and we're going to take ourselves into Uttanasana, forward fold. So firmly press your hands down to lift your knees up and take a little step forward. So as we're folded forward, hold on to opposite elbow. Perhaps your elbows, actually everybody have your elbows resting onto the seat of the chair and having your knees bent as need be. Using the sense of the chair is lifting you up, give your head a little shake, shake. Again, make sure your shoulders aren't tightening. Almost a sense that your head is flopping down. That's not a very technical word, but just ensuring that you've got the ease. Then place your hands onto the seat of the chair And I want you to lift up just halfway. So your in-breath is straightening of your arms. Keep your gaze down, so you're looking down towards the seat of the chair. And then on an exhale, bending of your elbows softly, folding forward. Perhaps your head will reach to the seat of the chair or not. 2 more times. In breath, lift up halfway, called Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale down, real slow descending. Again, to release the last drop of your breath. And with your inhale, lift yourselves up. Again, halfway. Keep your torso long, even strong. And then melting back down. From here, place your hands onto your hips. So again, your knees gentle and hinge to standing upright. And then as you're standing upright, I want you to take a step forward. So the front of your knees or maybe your shins are just gently touching the front of the chair. So normally we're standing and there's that space. So having it so they just gently touch. And still having your feet hip distance apart, close your eyes. And so standing in mountain pose, Tadasana, there's always a little bit of movement, but the seat of the chair brings that stillness. Still, of course, connecting all 4 sides of your feet. And then as you're standing tall, lift your shoulders up to your ears, glide them back, and descend down. And your palms just slightly directed forward with your eyes closed. In connection to the ground, your toes are rooted, your legs are growing, your torso is lifting, and the crown of your head right up to the sky. Now stay standing as you are. I want you to just take your right ear to your right shoulder. The chair is holding your alignment, so just ensure that the right side of your body isn't shrinking with a fold. You've got that growing equal length on both sides of your torso, and any little adjustment, the opening of your neck. And again, whichever little adjustment, if there's a position of your chin that finds a place that's a little tighter, and just take it there and actually complete full breath in. And complete breath out. And then very gently, bring yourself to center. Both sides of your neck are of equal length. And then again, shoulders float, back and down. So you have that growing of the front and the back of your spine. Let's change sides. Left ear to the left shoulder. And finding that position that finds the tight spot and then holding it there. And see if you can almost direct your breath to that tight spot. And then gently bring your head back, neck long, shoulders move. From here, take your gaze forward. And your in-breath, sweep your arms up to the sky. And then we just swan dive down and place your hands onto the seat of the chair. And then from here, walk your feet back to our variation of downward facing dog. So peek down just to make sure that your feet are hip distance apart. Again, as we do in our first downward facing dog, your knees can be gently bent. But I want you to be firmly pressing your hands down to the seat of the chair, just as gravity draws your hands to the mat. And then bend opposite knees. So go for a little bit of a walk, encouraging a little bit of lengthening both sides of the torso. And then I'll get you to lift your heels up. Did you even encouraging a little bit more lengthening and lifting? And then place your heels down. I want you to shift yourself forward into a plank pose. So now in doing so, your heels will be off the mat, but I want you to keep your gaze down between your hands. So you're holding on to that alignment and straightness. So ensure that your belly doesn't drop up or your buttock lifts up. Imagine that you're laying onto the mat. And then take your sitting bones back towards the back of the mat. And again, go for a little bit of a walk. Let's do it 2 more times. So on your in-breath, take yourself forward into plank. And then you can take your gaze a little farther forward opposed to the seat of the chair. And then moving your thighs back to take yourselves back into your downward facing dog. And one more time, taking yourselves forward, your gaze directly steered forward. And back into downward facing dog. From here, take a little tiny step forward, so it's a little bit shorter. And lift your right leg up to the sky. Then step your right foot forward so that your knee is onto the front of the seat of the chair. Okay. Stretching of the calf. So perhaps if the calves are quite tight, you can step your back foot a little farther forward or a little farther back, but really sort of directing of your heel towards the mat. You've got the seat of the chair for that support. And sometimes I think it's nice sort of lifting of your heel up or down and eventually allowing your back heel rooted. And so allowing a little bit more ease, take your right hand onto your right hip flexor and draw it back just to ensure that your hips are staying squared. And then encourage the releasing of your back calf. Now in doing so, just make sure that your leg is back, your left leg is back. Make sure that your left thigh isn't gripping. Sort of more directing of opening. And the chair is lovely. You don't have to worry about balance. It's holding you in that spot. And stretching of your calf. And then we'll change sides. So just press both of your hands down onto the mat and walk yourselves back into a downward facing dog. A little bit of a walk. And then we'll change sides. So this time, lifting horizontalness of your left leg, step it forward. So your knee, just that front seat of the chair, and then stepping your back foot far enough forward that your heel can root down and feeling that tight spot. Hips are square. So left hand draws your left hip flexor back. And then just finding a position. Your fingertips are onto the seat of the chair. You can always, I didn't say this before, but you can always place your hands on the back of the chair, but we're focusing more onto your back calf. And again, make sure the rest of your right leg is relaxed. The chair is holding you there. And as you know, the loveliness of the sighs, and with those sighs, releasing that tightness. And we're going to come out here. Take yourselves back into the lovely downward facing dog. So from downward facing dog, shift yourselves forward again into plank pose. Couple of options. You can stay into plank pose, or perhaps moving yourselves into upward facing dog. So take your heart forward and up without your belly button dropping. Maybe take your gaze up. So your legs this time are completely active. And then press your hips back to take yourselves back into a downward facing dog. And again, let's do it again. Take yourselves forward. You can always be onto your fists. And then continue with that movement about your gaze up to the sky. Shoulder blades together, legs fired up, torso strong. And fly back again into the lovely Adho Mukha Shavasana, downward facing dog. And 3 is a lovely number. So the third one, shift yourselves forward, lifting of your heart, growing through the front of your body, strength through the back, and then back into downward facing dog. For downward facing dog, lift your right leg up again. So just as you had before, you've got that horizontalness. And then step your right foot forward, right knee bent onto the seat of the chair. And we're going to go into warrior one. So your back foot, hop it a little farther forward and lower your heel down. Just make sure your left toes to the left front corner of your mat and place your hands onto the back of the chair. So again, in this pose, encourage your right hip back so you have that squaring of the hips. Make sure your front shin is vertical, so sometimes it's a little bit harder to see. And then you keep your hands onto the back of the chair or maybe bring your palms together. Now just really ensure that your back heel is staying rooted down, a little bit of an angle, and it's a closer step forward than our calf stretch. Still strengthening of the calf. Strength through your front bent knee. And then again, from here, keep your hands wherever they are, or maybe lifting them up to the sky. And take your gaze forward. Your arms can be open to a little bit of a V if you're feeling that the discomfort through your hip flexor. Both legs strong, but using the support of the stillness of the chair to give yourselves a stillness through the body. Warrior one. So anytime you're doing this at home, when you're not doing it with me, nice having your knee on the seat of the chair. This allows more a little bit awareness of the lifting through your body without the holding of balance. I want you to now straighten your front leg. Take your hands forward to the back of the chair and then lower down into pyramid pose. So the importance of keeping your front leg straight. Your hands can be onto the seat of the chair, maybe your forearms, maybe of your head. Don't push it. Just take yourself to the opening as you do in a warrior one. We're lengthening through your front leg, your right hamstrings, but still ensure your back heel is grounded. So we already opened the calf off when we did our first lunge. And so now still keeping that your back heel heavy, like really anchor it down. Hips neutral, body relaxed, breath full. And a forward fold, pyramid pose. Sanskrit name is Parshvottanasana. Still ensuring that the top of your right thigh bone stays plugged into your hip socket. So it's into the pose, holding the alignment and settling, but then always having to go back and doing a little check that you still hold on to the position of your body as it is the alignment. So there's no strain or losing the neutralizing of your hips, more focusing on the squaring and then the lengthening. So place your hands back onto the seat of the chair and just step yourselves back into a downward facing dog. And in your variation, bend opposite knee. So really giving that movement in the loop in the joints. You can stay in this variation of downward facing dog or shift yourselves forward into a plank pose, depending on how happy your wrists are right now. Or perhaps maybe lifting yourselves right up to the sky into upward facing dog. Urdhva Mukha Shavasana. And then shift yourselves back into downward facing dog. And we'll change sides. So this time your left foot lifts up horizontal. Step your foot forward. Back foot a little farther forward. Right heel down. Right toes to right front corner of your mat and lift yourself up. So as you place your hands into the back of the chair, it's sort of a little bit more assistant of the alignment, squaring of your hips, rooting of your back leg. And you keep your hands onto the back of the chair or maybe palms together at heart center. At all time though, just encourage that your tailbone to be rooted down and your belly button to be lifting up, not moving forward, but lifting up. And then again from there, stay as you are with your arms or lifting them up into a V or maybe into vertical. Even though if your hands have lifted up, still keep your shoulders soft. It's almost your heart back to your spine. Gaze forward, or as you know, you can always close your eyes. Now, straighten your front leg. Hands off the seat of the chair. And lower yourselves down into pyramid pose. So again, whichever height of your arms, your head descending, maybe onto the seat of the chair or not. Hips are neutral. The back of your hips are level. Front and back leg is straight. And I always say, a position like this is sort of inviting the tightness of your muscles to relax. So enjoy it. We'll come out from here. So hands back onto the seat of the chair and step yourselves back into a downward facing dog. And going for a walk. And as before, you can stay in this position or shift yourselves forward into plank and continue the lifting of your heart into upward facing dog. So your thighs, almost like your thighs are moving back and your heart is moving up. And then back into a downward facing dog. A little bit of shaking of your hips. From here, I want you to lift your left leg up. So again, it's horizontal. And step foot forward. So you're taking yourselves right back into the position you had. Your left leg is forward. Then what I want you to do is lower your back heel down for warrior two. So the outer edges of your foot run parallel with the outer edge of the mat. And bring yourselves up into warrior two. So again, your knee is being held in place with the seat of the chair. And often you can step your back foot a little farther back. So sort of find that. Actually take your hand onto your bent front leg and just ensure that your knee is sweeping away. And then shoot your arms back out into warrior two. Look just past the ends of your fingers. Now keep your arms horizontal, but straighten your front bent knee. And we're going to go into pyramid, or into warrior, I'm missing on these. Into the lovely fold, Trikonasana. So place your front hand onto the seat of the chair. And then your back horizontal arm, a couple of options. You can place your hands onto your hip, perhaps your fingers onto your shoulder, or maybe up to vertical. Just a nice supported variation of triangle pose. So really just encouraging that both of your legs are strong and long. The seat of the chair just gives a little bit more assistance. Often in this pose, it'll be the left side of your torso collapses a little bit. The chair is keeping the outer edges of your back foot growing up and both sides of your torso of equal length. And again, your gaze can be up, forward, or down, depending on how your neck feels. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Softly bend your front knee so that you can place your hands back onto the seat of the chair and just step back into warrior two. Give your knees a little walk, pedaling of the heels. And then we're going to change sides. So this time your right leg lifts up, sweeps forward, connects the front seat of the chair, lowering your back heel down, maybe walking your back foot a little farther back. And so from here, you can actually look down to make sure you've got the alignment of your front heel to the inner arch of your back foot, and then fly up into warrior two. And ensure that your front bent knee isn't collapsing in. The chair is holding that alignment. Arms are long. Gaze is forward. Actually turn your palms up just to encourage your shoulder blades to descend, and keeping them descending, turn your palms so they face back down. But your front and back arm is of equal strength and horizontalness. Straighten your front leg, hands forward, and then onto the seat of the chair. Depending on your shoulder, you can have your back hand onto hip, fingers onto shoulder, or up into vertical. So again, just checking that both sides of your torso is of equal length. Fingers reach up, but allow still the settling, the top of your arm bone settled into your shoulder socket. Close your eyes. You're being held in place. And we'll come out. So bend your front knee and step yourselves back into a downward facing dog, just to first bring the alignment. And then I want you to walk forward so that you can sit down onto the chair. So we're going to continue to work on the hips with thread the needle. So place your hands behind the back of your right or left leg, whichever one. And then with the assistance of your hands, place your ankle onto your opposite knee. So this can be quite deep. So a couple of options. Your hand can be supporting of your bent, lifted knee. Or maybe perhaps just allow the grounding, but actually give that little hip flexor a little bit of a massage where you're feeling that tightness. And then bring yourselves back to stillness. So your lifted bent knee, your hand, I want you to hold onto the front of the knee. Just to give a little bit of lifting or encourage a little bit of lowering. But stay sitting tall. Yeah. Full breath in. Complete sigh on your exhale. And then you can stay sitting tall or maybe folding yourselves a little farther forward. This is really taking thread the needle to a deeper level. Just notice that the ease of keeping your spine long without collapsing. So almost encourage the bottom inner edges of your shoulder blades together and then descending down. Remember to keep your face soft. Your mouth resting. And then taking yourself. Perhaps if it's quite open, you can place your forearms onto your shin using the support. Or even just sitting tall, of course, and holding the initial alignment, depending on how your hips feel. It might be you're always at the same level. Sometimes some days are a little bit deeper than the other. And then breathe. Okay, to bring yourselves up to sitting upright. And take your foot down and place your feet on the outer edge of your mat. Just give yourselves a little bit of a swing of your knees side to side, giving more space to your hip flexor. And then we'll change sides. So bring your feet back, so it's almost like your legs are railroad tracks. Strength of your arm. Lift, this time your opposite leg up. And then placing, not only back of your knee, more the outer edges of your ankle to your lower thigh. And then finding that tight spot, giving a little bit of a massage. And allowing the passiveness of your lifted bent leg. And one hand onto the heel, the other hand onto the knee. Close your eyes. And then choose. You can stay sitting tall. Or the initial tilting forward. As you know, as soon as you take a stretch or a position a little bit deeper, things can tighten up. So it's like a slow little tiptoeing along. And as soon as it starts to grip, go no further. And just breathe, maybe a few sighs. And then maybe come up a little bit more, or maybe lower down. And the chair is holding you the alignment. So make sure your lifted knee, the thigh isn't gripping. If you find that throughout the pose they're gripping and you just can't stop it, then just come up a little bit more. So as always your body, your alignment, and listening. And let's just come up. Assistance of your hand. Unweave, and then again, let's do a really slow swing of your knees side to side, smoothing out the hip flexors. And of course, as your hip flexors relax, and then allows that release through your outer hips, inner thighs. And then I want you to take yourselves back down onto your mat. So as you're sitting onto your mat, I want you to take both of your feet underneath your chair. And you can even shuffle the chair a little bit closer to you. Now in this pose, hands onto your buttocks, scoop them back to assist your hips to tilt forward. As we've done before, lift your arms up to vertical. Hinge yourselves forward. Perhaps your hands are onto the back of the chair, maybe onto the arms of the chair, or maybe your forearms onto the seat of the chair. And you can always do an adjustment. Perhaps you can shift your chair a little farther forward, or lift yourselves a little farther up. Just find that position. Keep the inner edges of your ankles together so your legs are strong and eyes soften. Allow it to be with ease. So it's the direction of flattening of the back of your legs, but again, there might still be a little soft bending, but just sort of more direction of the whole back of your legs to your mat as we're opening from your heel Even lengthening from the sole of your foot, wrapping around your heel, Achilles tendon, calf, lower hamstrings, length of your hamstrings, and then where they connect to the back of your buttocks. And keeping it that softness. Sort of motion is with each in-breath, allow your spine to lift opposed to collapse. Lifting, settling, and of course lengthening. Lengthening from your, even lengthening from your heels, back of your legs, the length of your spine. Keep the softness of your neck. Okay, you bring yourselves up to sitting upright. Place your hands back and take your legs out from underneath the chair. And place your feet on the outer edge of your mat. And then just a little bit of swing. And then I want you to go right back down onto the mat in terms of lying down. So lay down. Now have the chair in a position that you can adjust it away or in. And place your calves right back onto the seat of the chair. So if you have a strap nearby, you can use your strap. If you don't, that's okay. You're going to have that lifting. So place the strap under the ball of your right foot and lift it up to vertical. And then as usual, take your right thumb to draw your right hip forward, even your right thigh away from you. And then hold the strap independently into your right and your left hand. So in doing that, just allows that back surface of your shoulder blades to stay connected to your mat. And just enjoy the passiveness of your bent leg as it rests onto the seat of the chair. And then perhaps maybe a little bit more straightening and lengthening, opening, giving more space through the back of your knee. Or maybe if it's already straight, maybe drawing your toes a little bit more towards towards your nose. Well, not really, but in at least that direction. Again, none of it in this is forcing. We've already done a little bit of opening of the hamstrings, so perhaps they're already a sense of more freedom. And enjoy. Let's change sides. This time having the verticalness, you can just change the strap foot to foot. So the first thing is making sure your right leg is completely passive. Your calf is resting onto the chair, and then work of growing. So the growing and lengthening and lifting of your left leg would allow that combination, always working on the growing of the back of the leg, but also still the lifting through the front of your leg. And shoulders down. I always do a little checking, so do a little scan. Shoulders are settled. And sometimes even you'll notice your ears, either your right or your left, is a little bit closer towards your shoulders. So sometimes it's nice just gazing up to know that you've got the alignment that your ears haven't been a little bit heavier. And then just close your eyes and then do the little scanning of the plugging of the top of your left thigh bone into your hip socket. And then from here, depending how much your legs, hamstrings have opened, maybe directing a little bit more, drawing your foot towards your head. But the most important is having the straightness of the front and the back of your leg. Making sure it's long, long and lean. And then I'll get you to lower your leg back down so your calves are onto the seat of the chair. Just place the strap off to the side. So we're going to take ourselves into the third variation of thread the needle. So sometimes encouraging your chair a little bit farther away, I'm going to show you, or you'll listen to me. Take your right knee in and place your right ankle onto your left knee. So exactly as we had done before. And that's why it's nice to have the chair a little bit farther away, because what I want you to do is I want you to drag your left heel towards the front seat of the chair. Take yourselves into a deeper thread the needle. So that's why it can be quite deep, and maybe having your chair a little bit farther away. So you have the inner arch of your foot resting on the front surface of the chair, so your arms can be completely passive. It's like the top of your body from your waist up. It has the stillness and the ease, and the chair is giving you the opening. So before, when you're sitting on the chair and folding forward, it allows the assistance of the length of your spine, but now the earth, your mat, is holding you there. Just the arch of your foot resting on the front rim of the chair holds that stillness. And enjoy. Anytime you feel that your bent right knee traveling in towards your chest, you can always take your right palm and just make sure that your knee isn't being shrinking in towards your shoulder. You've got that space, and then your arm just to rest. Your eyes sink deep. The skin on your face stays smooth. And as we did at the beginning of the class, it was just the observation of the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Is it still there? So sometimes if you're feeling the tightness, breath can shorten and be shallow. So take it right back as we did at the beginning of the class. Gentle filling, gentle emptying. Which is lovely. We only have so much time. So take both of your feet onto the front rim of the chair, outer edge, and then I just want you to sway your knees side to side. And then we'll change side. So first thing, your right calf just rests passively onto the seat of the chair. And then planting of your left ankle onto your right knee. And then inching of your foot towards the front seam of the chair. Now one side, for me, this side's much tighter. So maybe be traveling a little bit farther away from the chair or sliding the chair away from you. And then just ensuring the alignment of your left thigh is away and then passive. And as you know, into a pose like this can be quite deep, but you can always adjust throughout the holding the stillness of this pose, either farther away or closer to your chair. And that gentle rhythm, harmony of your breath, I want you to listen to it. Always find a sense of calmingness, drawing in the nourishment of your breath, the ease of the exhale, sense of cleansing, releasing. And then let's slide out. So take your feet again onto the front arm of the chair and sway your knees side to side. And then we're going to travel from here into Shavasana. So in Shavasana, you can choose if you want to keep your calves resting onto the chair, but still having your feet a little bit farther apart. Or if it feels better, you can just slide the chair away and gently allow your entire length of your body to settle onto your mat. As if your feet or your legs are up or down, ensure that passiveness is having your feet a little bit farther apart. Your thighs relaxed, scanning the magnet of the whole surface of your body onto your mat. Continue the rhythm of your breath and the ease of the softening between your eyebrows. Your eyes sink deep, cheeks are high and strong, but your cheeks are at ease. And enjoy the settling of the moment, your body and your breath. Slow movement of your toes and your fingers. And draw your breath a little deeper. And then with that, your exhale a little fuller. Whatever movement you need and want, that's just your toes and your fingers, or maybe your ankles and your wrists. Maybe the soft swaying the hips side to side. Just allow yourself to awaken. And then as you're ready, bend your knees to roll over onto your right side, your head resting onto your right upper arm. And draw a few more breaths into the back of your body, giving yourselves space. And then press your left hand down to bring yourselves into sitting upright and sitting in a position of comfort. Hands behind your buttocks to draw them back. Palms rest onto your thighs. Lift your shoulders up. Keep that lifting through your body, but your shoulders settle down. And then union of your palms together and thumbs into heart center. The slow bowing of your head. The union of your palms together. The union within, and the union of us that we share together in our practice. I wish you namaste.